Over 300,000 people are now homeless in the UK, and the number is rising faster than ever. But here's the shocking part. What if some of the very laws designed to protect people are actually pushing them onto the streets? Imagine losing your home not because you did something wrong, but because of a legal loophole you didn't even know existed. No warning, no safety net, just one decision, and everything changes overnight. In this video, we're exposing 10 powerful laws that could be quietly making homelessness worse in 2026. And the truth behind them might surprise you. Number 10. Priority need restrictions. At first glance, this law might seem fair, but when you look closer, it reveals a serious gap in the system. The priority need rule decides who gets urgent housing support in the UK. Sounds reasonable, right? But here's the problem. Only certain groups qualify, like families with children, pregnant women, or people with severe disabilities. That means thousands of others, especially single adults, are often left with little to no help. Imagine being homeless, sleeping in your car or on a friend's couch, and being told you're not vulnerable enough to qualify for housing. It's a harsh reality many people face. Research and housing reports have shown that this restriction leaves a huge number of individuals stuck in long-term homelessness, simply because they don't meet strict criteria. And the system relies heavily on proving vulnerability, which isn't always visible. Mental health struggles, job loss, or sudden life crises don't always count the way they should. As a result, people fall through the cracks, completely unnoticed. So what can you do? If you or someone you know is at risk, it's crucial to document everything: medical records, financial hardship, or any situation that shows vulnerability. Seeking help from local housing charities or legal advisors can also increase the chances of getting support. This law highlights a deeper issue. Sometimes the system doesn't fail loudly. It fails quietly, leaving people behind without anyone realizing it. Which of these laws shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts below. We read every comment because real stories matter. We put serious effort into uncovering truths like this, so hit subscribe. It's just one click, but it means everything. Number 9. Right to rent checks. This law was introduced to control illegal immigration, but its hidden impact goes much deeper. The right to rent policy requires landlords in England to check a tenant's immigration status before renting out a property. On paper, it sounds like a simple verification step, but in reality, it has created a wave of fear, confusion, and even discrimination in the housing market. Here's where it gets troubling. Many landlords, worried about fines or legal trouble, choose the safe option. Instead of carefully checking documents, they may avoid renting to anyone who seems uncertain, including legal migrants, students, or even UK citizens without immediate paperwork. Studies and housing reports have found that this has led to increased bias in renting decisions, whether intentional or not. Imagine needing a home but being turned away again and again, not because you can't pay rent, but because of how you look, your accent, or missing paperwork. Over time, this pushes many people into unstable living situations, overcrowded housing, or even homelessness. The law also puts pressure on landlords to act like immigration officers, which can lead to mistakes and unfair decisions. And for tenants, the stress of proving their status can become overwhelming, especially in urgent situations. So what's the practical step? Always keep your documents updated and easily accessible. If you face unfair treatment, reach out to housing support groups or legal advisors who can guide you through your rights. This law shows how a policy aimed at one issue can quietly create another, making access to housing harder for those who need it most. Have you or someone you know ever faced this situation? Share your story below. We truly want to hear real experiences. We spend hours breaking down these hidden truths, so don't forget to subscribe. It's just one click, but it keeps this content alive. Number 8. housing benefit freeze. This might sound like a technical policy, but its real-life impact is anything but small. The housing benefit freeze means the financial support people receive for rent has not kept up with rising housing costs. In simple terms, rent keeps going up, but support stays the same. And that gap, it's pushing thousands closer to homelessness. Over the past few years, rental prices across the UK have increased sharply, but housing benefits have remained stuck at older rates, creating a growing mismatch. Studies and housing reports show that many low-income households are now forced to spend a huge portion of their income just to keep a roof over their heads. And when that becomes impossible, eviction is often just around the corner. Imagine working hard, doing everything right, and still falling behind because the system hasn't adjusted to reality. That's the situation many families and individuals are facing today. Even a small rent increase can become the tipping point between stability and homelessness. The most concerning part? This issue often builds slowly. People may cope for months by cutting essentials, borrowing money, or skipping bills, until eventually there's nothing left to cut. So what can be done? If you're affected, look into discretionary housing payments, DHPs, offered by local councils. These can provide short-term relief. Also, regularly checking benefit updates and seeking financial advice early can make a big difference. This law shows how inaction can be just as harmful as action, because when support stands still in a rapidly changing world, people are the ones who fall behind. Number 7. Anti-homelessness public space laws. At first, these laws are presented as a way to keep cities clean and safe, but the reality is far more complicated. Anti-homelessness public space laws allow authorities to fine, move, or even criminalise people for sleeping in public areas like parks, streets, or bus stations. In simple terms, people who have nowhere to go are being punished for being visible. Think about that for a second. If someone doesn't have a home, where are they supposed to sleep? These laws don't solve homelessness. They simply push it out of sight. Reports and studies have shown that instead of offering support, these policies often force people to move constantly, making it even harder for them to access shelters, jobs, or healthcare services. Imagine trying to rebuild your life while being told to move on every night. No stability, no safety, just constant uncertainty. Over time, this can lead to deeper mental and physical health issues, trapping individuals in a cycle that becomes harder to escape. What makes this even more concerning is the long-term effect. Fines can pile up, and minor offences can turn into criminal records. That record then makes it even harder to find housing or employment in the future. So what can be done? Supporting local charities, outreach programs, and knowing your rights can make a difference. If you see someone affected, even small acts of awareness and kindness matter. This law highlights a painful truth. Sometimes, instead of solving a problem, systems simply make it invisible, while the suffering continues behind the scenes. And be honest, did this change how you see homelessness? Comment aware. If it did, we're reading every single one. We work hard to bring you truths like this, so take 1 second to subscribe. It's a small click that makes a big impact. Number 6. Universal credit delays. This is one of the most talked about policies, and for good reason. The universal credit system was designed to simplify benefits, but one major issue continues to hurt people: the 5-week waiting period for the first payment. That might not sound like much, until you realise most people applying have little to no savings left. Imagine losing your job or facing a crisis, applying for help, and then being told to wait over a month with no stable income. Rent doesn't pause, bills don't stop, life keeps moving, but your support doesn't arrive in time. This delay often leads to immediate rent arrears, forcing people into debt before they even receive their first payment. Research and housing reports have consistently linked these delays to rising eviction rates. Many people try to cope by borrowing money, using credit cards or relying on friends and family. But that support isn't always available, and even when it is, it can create a cycle of debt that's hard to escape. Yes, there's an option to request an advance payment, but here's the catch. It's a loan, not a grant. That means future payments are reduced, making it harder to stay financially stable in the long run. So what can you do? If you ever find yourself in this situation, apply as early as possible and consider advance payments carefully. Seeking help from local support organisations can also ease the pressure. This policy shows how even a small delay can create a domino effect, pushing vulnerable people closer to homelessness. Number 5. Benefit cap policy. At first, the benefit cap might sound like a fair limit, but for many families, it's a hidden trigger for homelessness. This policy sets a maximum amount of total benefits a household can receive, no matter how high their living costs are. And here's the problem. Rent doesn't follow that cap. In many parts of the UK, housing costs have risen far beyond what capped benefits can cover. That leaves families with a painful choice: pay rent or cover basic needs like food, electricity, and childcare. Over time, this financial pressure builds up, leading to missed rent payments and eventual eviction. Studies and housing data have shown a strong connection between the benefit cap and increased homelessness risk. Larger families are often hit the hardest, as their expenses are naturally higher, but their support remains limited. Even those actively looking for work can struggle, especially if wages don't match rising living costs. Imagine doing everything you can, cutting expenses, budgeting carefully, and still falling short because of a fixed limit. That constant stress can take a serious toll, both financially and emotionally. So what can be done? If affected, it's important to explore options like discretionary housing payments, DHPs, or speak with local councils for temporary relief. Seeking employment support programs may also help increase income over time. This policy highlights a tough reality. When support has limits but life doesn't, people are often the ones forced to absorb the impact. Drop it in the comments. Do you think this policy is fair or not? We genuinely want your opinion. We spend hours breaking down topics like this, so hit subscribe. It's just one click, but it means everything to us. Number 4. Local connection rules. This is one of those policies that sounds logical, but in reality, it can leave people completely stuck. The local connection rule means that councils are only responsible for helping you if you can prove a connection to their area, like living there for a certain time, having family nearby, or working locally. If you can't prove that, you may be told to seek help somewhere else. Now imagine this. You leave an unsafe home, escape a difficult situation, or move to a new area for a fresh start, only to be told, "We can't help you here." For many people, especially those fleeing domestic issues or sudden crises, going back simply isn't an option. Housing reports have shown that this rule often results in people being passed from one council to another, with no one taking full responsibility. During this time, individuals can end up sleeping rough, staying in temporary shelters, or relying on friends, if they're lucky enough to have that option. The emotional toll is just as serious. Being rejected repeatedly can make people feel invisible, like they don't belong anywhere. And when support systems become harder to access, the risk of long-term homelessness increases. So what can you do? Try to gather proof of your connection: employment records, tenancy agreements, or family ties. If your situation involves safety concerns, make sure to clearly communicate that, as exceptions can sometimes be made. This law shows how a system designed to organise support can sometimes end up blocking it entirely for those who need it most. Number 3. No-fault evictions. Section 21. This is one of the most controversial housing policies in the UK, and for good reason. Section 21, often called a no-fault eviction, allows landlords to evict tenants without giving a specific reason. That means even if you've paid your rent on time and followed every rule, you can still be asked to leave. Now imagine building a stable life, job, routine, maybe even your children's school nearby, and suddenly receiving a notice that you have just a couple of months to move out. No explanation, no warning, just a deadline. For many renters, this creates constant uncertainty, like their home is never truly secure. Housing studies and reports have consistently linked Section 21 to rising homelessness cases. Why? Because once someone is evicted, finding a new place isn't always easy, especially with rising rents and strict tenant checks. Many people end up in temporary housing, or worse, with nowhere to go. The most troubling part is how quickly things can spiral. One notice can lead to emergency situations, debt, and emotional stress, all within weeks. So what can you do? If you receive a notice, act fast. Seek advice from housing support organisations, understand your rights, and explore negotiation options with your landlord if possible. This law reveals a harsh truth. Sometimes, losing your home isn't about failure. It's about a system that allows stability to disappear overnight. If this shocked you, comment unfair. Let's see how many people feel the same. We put serious effort into bringing you real truths, so hit subscribe. It's just one click. But it helps us keep going. Number 2. Lack of social housing policies. This isn't just one law, it's a long-term policy gap that's quietly fueling the homelessness crisis. Over the years, the UK has seen a major decline in social housing construction, while demand has continued to rise. The result? Long waiting lists, fewer affordable homes, and more people left with no options. Social housing was originally designed to provide stable, low-cost homes for people who need support. But today, many applicants wait years, sometimes even a decade, just to get a place. And during that time, life doesn't pause. People are forced into expensive private rentals, temporary housing, or overcrowded living conditions. Research and housing data show that the shortage of social housing is one of the biggest structural causes of homelessness. And when there simply aren't enough affordable homes, even small financial setbacks, like losing a job or facing a rent increase, can push someone over the edge. Imagine being on a waiting list, checking updates constantly, hoping for stability. But nothing changes. That uncertainty can be exhausting, both mentally and financially. So what can you do? Apply as early as possible and keep your application updated. Also, explore housing associations and local support programs that may offer alternative options. This issue highlights a deeper problem. When supply doesn't meet demand, the system becomes overwhelmed, and the most vulnerable people are the ones who suffer the most. If you think housing should be a right, comment "Housing for all." Let's see how many stand together. We put real effort into content like this, so don't forget to subscribe. It's just one click, but it truly supports us. Number 1. Temporary accommodation rules. This is where the system is supposed to catch people before they fall, but for many, it becomes a revolving door. Temporary accommodation is meant to provide short-term housing for those facing homelessness. But in reality, strict rules, limited availability, and poor conditions often make the situation even worse. Families and individuals are frequently placed in small, overcrowded spaces, sometimes miles away from their jobs, schools, or support networks. And here's the hardest part. There's often no clear timeline for how long they'll stay there. What's meant to be temporary can turn into months, or even years. Studies and housing reports reveal that people stuck in temporary accommodation struggle to rebuild stability. Constant uncertainty makes it difficult to find work, maintain routines, or plan for the future. Children's education suffers, mental health declines, and the sense of home slowly disappears. Imagine living out of bags, not knowing where you'll be next month, while trying to hold your life together. It's not just housing, it's your entire future hanging in the balance. So what can you do? If placed in temporary accommodation, Stay in regular contact with your local council. Ask about long-term housing options and seek help from housing charities to speed up the process. This law reveals a painful truth. Sometimes, the system designed to protect people doesn't provide a way out. It just delays the fall. If this opened your eyes, comment "Time to change." We want to hear your voice loud and clear. We put real effort into every video, so take 1 second to subscribe. It's just one click. But it means everything to us. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, one thing becomes clear. Homelessness in the UK isn't just about personal struggles. It's deeply connected to policy decisions. Each law we've discussed may have been created with a specific purpose, but together, they form a system that can sometimes make life harder for the very people it's supposed to protect. From no-fault evictions to benefit caps, from delayed support to limited housing availability, the pattern is hard to ignore. These policies don't always fail in obvious ways. Instead, they create pressure slowly, pushing people closer and closer to the edge until one small setback becomes a life-changing crisis. What makes this even more important is how relatable it is. Many people believe homelessness could never happen to them, but the truth is, it often starts with something unexpected: a job loss, a rent increase, a delay in support. And when the system isn't flexible enough to respond, even stable lives can quickly become unstable. But awareness is powerful. The more we understand how these laws work, the better we can protect ourselves and support others. Whether it's knowing your rights, seeking help early, or simply spreading awareness, every small step matters. At the end of the day, this isn't just about policies. It's about real people, real lives, and real consequences. And change doesn't start somewhere far away. It starts with conversations like this. So as you leave this video, ask yourself, what kind of system do we want? And how can we be part of the change?